Good morning, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here with us today. You are going to hear from some really dynamic individuals. We're excited that we have people from a variety of sectors and a variety of backgrounds here to talk about solutions related to boys and young men of color, particularly to their employment outcomes, their health outcomes, and their education outcomes.
Essentially, the event was about lifting up youth voice, young men of color, lifting up their experiences, their stories, a lot of what their challenges are, the data that paints a portrait of them as being negative. But today was about seeing the transformation from their own experience, and then also hearing about how the adults and the organizations support their infrastructure.
I always tell them, hey, this is my second house, you cannot kick me out. So I said I closes at 8, and I was there like at 8:30, like still working on my essay paper. So.
And I just want to thank Tori for helping me get through all the challenges I faced. And I want to thank you all for, even want to be participants in finding a better solution for kids like us.
No, I'm hopeful, yes I am hopeful for today. Take this music and use it, let it take you away. And be hopeful, hopeful, and he'll make a way. I know it ain't easy, but that's okay, cause we hopeful.
We hope that this conversation will be ongoing with policymakers and businesses and really focus on the strengths and the assets of our young men.
When they're kids that you actually know and actually like, they'll listen to you and you'll listen to them. And that's where change starts, knowing their stories.
I grew up in Peñasco and there was a lot of barriers. There was like 95% Hispanic. So we weren't really looked at like if we were gonna go to college and go do big things. There's nothing in Peñasco. It's a really, really small town, has a lot of drugs and a lot of poverty.
And then someone asked Adid what he thought was the most important thing we can do to support our brothers and sisters who are facing challenges. And I'll never forget his response. He said, help us be creative.
We have young men and women who are aspiring to be rap artists. But what if we can place them at radio stations and they can learn how to be the engineers behind the music? Now that expands their opportunity.
The question that I really have for all of you is, what do you need to make your lives easier or your work easier?
At a policy level, I think what would assist us is less policy. There's policies set up against our people, and these policies disable my folks from being able to engage or interface with society.
Part of it's also stepping up to the plate, right? I think across the board there's folks that are in positions of power, right? Whether you're Asian American, Latino, African American, right? I think it's really about the folks that are in spaces that are at the table to bring other people to that table.
I believe the future for them is so unimaginably bright if we listen to them and understand their stories.
I think somebody mentioned that the policies that are created usually are created without those that they're being targeted towards. And so really listening to youth voice to make sure that whatever policies are being put in place are not actually holding young people back.
More times than not, the young person who's most disenfranchised and neediest is those who are punished the most. And if we begin to look at some more transformational concepts and practices, as opposed to just a straight discipline where the core of the issue is not ever addressed, but this repetition around being excluded from school for long periods of time.
So you've heard some interesting strategies that our nonprofits are using sweat lodges, watching movies and reflecting on the movies to see what we can learn from them, taking our young men to site visits where ancestors worked, introducing our young men to different industries. So do these innovative things because hopefully what is called innovative today will tomorrow be standard, and you're setting the stage.
So I did have some people too in my corner who were more than willing to help me with this transformation.
I know it ain't easy, but
excited to commit ourselves to that national task together. Thank you.